should talk a little bit about VR at E3 2017.
Do we have to?
Look,
Is
I
there
understand
a
it's a pain in
compelling
the
reason
ass.
that we should talk
It's
about
a pain in the ass to listen to talk about, but I think it is notable that it seemed like trajectory was going up and up, relatively buzz in the industry, and this E3, it has plateaued or has started to dip, or maybe just the balloon of hype has deflated and it's become reasonable. Like, this is now the new role of VR in the industry.
I was, prior to when the big headsets came out, I was nowhere near a proponent of VR. And then I spent a bunch of time with both headsets right when they came out because I was working on some review stuff around it. And I really became a believer in the power of the tech, of it being really a offering some sort of fundamentally new entertainment experiences. It's not, when I say that I don't want to talk about VR at E3, it doesn't have anything to do with the idea that, like, I don't think this tech is valid or I don't think it could be good. It's that the show this year didn't make a case for it. And it seemed like a weird year not to do that.
100%. It seemed like everyone was bracing for, when are we going to be convinced that VR is a thing? And Sony was pretty soft.
They were very soft, especially for having launched a really expensive peripheral. I mean, relatively speaking, and also not as expensive as the other VR headsets, but compared to other for console gamer to get a PSVR headset, that would be a big investment, right? And there just wasn't very much there. I mean, they had a few small games that they showed off for it, but nothing that wowed, nothing that was like, oh wow, we're gonna get to do this now in VR. This amazing thing that was not there at this show.
And that's what we were kind of sold. I wrote our VR What's Coming in Year 2 story, and I interviewed Sean Layton from Sony.
Oh, okay.
And he was very adamant, like, you guys are going to see big AAA games at this thing. You're going to see the investment. The install base is there. We're fully investing in this. And then you see like Supermassive, a couple
they're making
basically
like
thrown
3
together
VR
games.
Yeah, it's like what Bravo Team, Hidden Agenda, and Inpatient, or there's.
Yeah, I don't think Hidden Agenda is VR, but
is that right?
I think that's just their more cooperative, choice-driven game.
Okay.
You see that. You see the Bethesda stuff that we already knew was coming that I got hands-on time with. Really limited. It's really clunky. This
is like Doom and Skyrim.
Skyrim, Fallout 4.
Oh, wow. And it's like teleport to walk?
Teleport to walk, yeah, or like hop jumps in the Doom one. You have a couple different options for locomotion, but none of them solve the fundamental problem of first-person experiences in VR. It still feels really weird.
Ugh.
We saw the 4A games, Arctica 1, which is another game that, like, the guns feel great, just like Robo Recall, but you're moving, teleporting, and it just kind of kills the atmosphere in these spaces, like.
And at that point, if Sony or Bethesda is not swinging for the fences, who is?
Well, to be fair, I think Bethesda's. I mean, at least they're moving big games onto there. As Bertz says, I don't know how well those translations are coming out.
And it's tough to say after 5 to 10 minutes with the game too. Let's.
But jankier than you expected on the early demo.
But from other places, I just wasn't seeing the investment. I mean, most of the big companies have a couple small games. Like Ubisoft has a couple small games that look interesting. But again, a year into, we had Vive and Rift come out now several months back. You had PSVR now has been out for at least a few months. And it was just odd to me. I really thought this was going to be the year, especially given that we had, in the lead up to those launches, those E3s had way more VR stuff, way more focus on that tech than I think I saw this year. I don't know what your experience was.
And people are starved for content. I mean, Farpoint is on the MPD top 20 list.
That was wild.
Farpoint's on there. People are that game is super average. It feels like a 1998 shooter.
Yeah.
People are starved for that stuff. The people that bought it, and there just isn't content that's there.
And to reiterate, like, the people who bought it, I think are people who, like me, realize, like, have messed around with it prior to buying, and we're like, wow, this is really cool, right? For anybody who hasn't had a chance to get in and play one of the good VR games yet, when you do, you get it. Like, it's like, this can be really cool, and I can see where this could go and become really awesome games. But
And then you say to most people, but will you pay an extra $500 to $700 for it?
Don't be ridiculous.
And almost everybody says no.
There's no world
where there is no experience that demands that kind of price point. You know what I mean?
It'd be even the greatest game of the last 10 years. I don't know if I'd pay $500 for it.
I think that if there was one of the greatest games of the last few years, even if there was like a few of those on these systems, I think that wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
I just don't think that's happened yet. Yeah. Like, I don't think we have the, like what Halo was for the Xbox yet. We don't have that experience.
No system sellers.
That is getting people like, oh man, I just have to get a VR headset because I really want to be able to like dig in on this experience. It was so cool, such a great like experience, and I can't have that any other place.
Also, speaking of Halo, I guess PSVR Golem from former Halo developers, that wasn't even at the show this year. I was expecting that to be re-debuted and whatnot. But I think it is telling, just looking at Microsoft's vantage point, where last year when they announced Project Scorpio, they're like, this thing's going to be VR capable in case we want to do something in the future. It's VR prepped, ready to go. And then a year later, checking it again, no mention of VR.
It's the smartest thing they did.
Absolutely. At some point, they just realized, like, no, let's not lean on this
let
pillar.
the market mature. There's no reason to spend a bunch of your capital on it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for watching this excerpt from the Game Informer Show podcast. You can subscribe to the audio version and listen to new episodes airing every Thursday. We cover big games on the horizon, games that we've just reviewed. We have long-form developer interviews, a lot of fun stuff. So check it out every Thursday.